What if I told you that in the early 1960s, you could walk into a dealership, buy a plain, full-size family sedan, and drive out with a factory racing engine under the hood? No stripes, no scoops, no wild badges, just a clean, ordinary Chevrolet that looked like it belonged in the school pickup line. But buried beneath that calm exterior was something that made drag racers very nervous. We're talking about the legend, the Chevrolet Biscayne 409. Back in the 60s, sleeper cars weren't a niche obsession, they were a lifestyle. Ford, Pontiac, and Chevrolet were all quietly slipping serious big block power into their full-sized family cars. The Ford Galaxy could be optioned with big block thunder. Even the Chevrolet Impala often hid serious muscle under its long hood. But the Biscayne? That was Chevrolet's boring model, the budget-friendly, no-frills sedan. Steel wheels, minimal trim, the kind of car your uncle might have bought because it was practical. And then Chevy did something outrageous. They dropped in the 409 cubic inch, 6.7-liter W Series engine. Originally developed from the 348 cubic inch small block introduced in 1958, the 409 wasn't just a mild upgrade, it was a monster. Single carb versions produced 380 horsepower. Step up to the twin 4-barrel setup and you were looking at up to 425 horsepower. In the early 1960s, that was serious firepower. Chevrolet rated the top 409's horsepower peak at 6,000 RPM. Period testers claimed the 6,200 RPM red line was conservative. Let that sink in. This was a full-sized family car revving like it had something to prove. And prove it did. On factory tires, bone stock, a 409 full-size could run the quarter mile in about 14.9 seconds at 98 miles per hour. Throw on a few smart hop-up parts and suddenly that same grocery getter became a 12-second menace. That put it in the conversation with some of the most feared muscle machines of the era, cars like the Mustang Boss 429, Pontiac GTO Judges, and even Hemi-powered Mopars. And this was a Biscayne. But the magic wasn't just in straight-line numbers. The 409's reputation wasn't built on bench racing. The W Series engine became a serious weapon in NASCAR and drag racing. Chevrolet programs relied on it. Independent teams leaned on it. It was the real deal. And then came something even wilder. Chevy engineers pushed the formula further, developing what became known as the Mystery Mark II, a 427 cubic inch, 7-liter evolution of the W Series. At the heart of the Chevrolet Impala Z11, this engine featured a 3.65-inch stroke, giving it true big block stature. Factory rated at 430 horsepower and 575 pound-feet of torque, many believed that number was conservative. In race trim, estimates suggest it could have made as much as 600 horsepower. All of this racing pedigree traces back to that humble Biscayne 409. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. In 1962, just 15,019 full-size Chevrolets left the factory with any 409 engine at all. And in 1963, credible estimates put production of the 425 horsepower L80 dual-quad 409 at just under 4,400 units. There's no solid breakdown showing how many of those engines landed specifically in Impalas, Bel Airs, or Biscaynes. In other words, these cars were never common. And today, the market is waking up. Biscayne 409s have sold for $64,000 and even $96,000. Compare that to the average used value of a Biscayne from this era, around $28,936 according to Classic.com, and you see the premium. With third-generation Biscayne values trending upward, it may not be long before we see the first six-figure 409 sale. So why did these full-sized family cars even exist with engines this outrageous? Two reasons. First, homologation. Back then, if you wanted to run a car in NASCAR, it had to closely resemble something you could buy at a dealership. If you modified it for racing, you had to sell road-going versions too. Cars like the Ford Galaxy 500R code existed specifically to make competition legal. And second, and this is the twist, General Motors officially withdrew from factory-sponsored motorsports. Management feared the escalating horsepower wars and potential antitrust scrutiny. But there was a loophole. GM couldn't openly race, but it could build the hardware. So Chevrolet created big block full-sized cars like the Biscayne 409. They were legal for NASCAR and sanctioned drag racing. Independent teams could run them, and technically GM wasn't directly involved. It was brilliant, a little rebellious, and very, very fast. The Chevrolet Biscayne 409 proves that sometimes the most unforgettable cars aren't the flashy ones. They're the quiet family sedans that pull up next to you at a red light and leave you staring at their taillights. If this kind of old-school Detroit magic gets your heart racing, hit like, share this with the fellow gearhead, and subscribe for more stories that remind us why we fell in love with cars in the first place. Because sometimes the most dangerous car on the street looks like it belongs in your driveway.